Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Grassley. Senator Wyden?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I think it's been a very good panel. Suffice it to say, this is getting hard to follow the blizzard of statistics and the like, and I want to see if I can just kind of isolate what I think this debate is all about. Clearly, we continue to have a major meth problem in a very significant number of states. And there are really two entrants to this debate and two separate tracks for how to proceed. One is the track that argues for what is called electronic tracking. The other is the track that I advocate, which is taking the Oregon approach nationwide. Now, here are the hard, documentable facts for 2009. I think what Senator Grassley and I are kind of having a debate about is the statistics that he's used are outdated in my view, and I want folks to see the current ones. So in 2009, Oklahoma had 743 meth labs, Kentucky had 741 labs, Arkansas had 643 labs. Those are hard, documentable figures from 2009 with the electronic tracking system. The hard, documentable figures from Oregon, which has put pseudoephedrine as a prescription drug, we have 10 labs. So that's what this debate is all about. Electronic tracking, where I've cited the figures from Oklahoma, Kentucky, and Arkansas that have many, many times the number of meth labs, as opposed to Oregon, which has 10 using the approach that I've described today, pseudoephedrine being a prescription drug. So those are the facts that are documentable on the record for the most recent year, 2009. My question to you, Mr. Kurlikowski, is essentially, I really have two questions for you. The first is, we are still finalizing legislation, and I understand the administration's position, FDA's position, absolutely. So what I think I'd like to see, if we could get on the record, is based on the hard, documentable analysis you've done of the evidence to date, is there any reason, in your view, why the Oregon model could not work nationwide?
No.
Okay. I want that understood because, folks, that's what this debate is all about. Director Kurlikowski has now said, in response to the hard evidence, again, not subject to all the spin of interest groups, that it is his judgment that there is no evidence that the Oregon model could not work nationwide, and I thank you for your clarity and your succinctness. Last question is, you described in your testimony the loopholes in the alternative approach, the electronic tracking system. Could you just amplify on that so we could have on the record what you think the loopholes are?
The loopholes are legion. First of all would be the lack of any type of identification that can be used. I happen to have a staff member that went to purchase some pseudoephedrine for a sinus problem, had no identification, had money in her pocket, but happened to have a letter that had been addressed to her, and the large retail chain drugstore that she went to purchase said, "Oh, that's perfectly fine," a letter that had been addressed to her at her home as a form of identification. We know how easy it is to obtain these false IDs, and the system does not prevent what is occurring with the false identification. The second, just having been a police chief for a long time and trying to figure out where to put really finite and limited resources, I haven't talked to any of my former colleagues that have a lot of detectives and analysts and, quite frankly, prosecutors sitting around saying, boy, I wish we had more work to do. The first tenet of policing that was formed when Sir Robert Peel talked about policing several hundred years ago was to prevent crime. As administrators, that's actually what we're supposed to do first, is prevent crime. Quite frankly, the Oregon model seems very clearly to have prevented many of these crimes, these labs.
Thank you, Madam Chair.